I didn't expect a ring to fly at my face that night. But maybe I should have. Maybe I should have seen it coming months ago, when she stopped texting back during the day, or when her girls' night started ending closer to sunrise than midnight, or when her hugs became one-armed, brief, distracted, like she had somewhere better to be. I'm Eric, 34, no kids, steady job. I fix things that break under pressure, bridges, roads, foundations. The irony writes itself, doesn't it? I thought my marriage was solid. I thought we were just going through a phase. But as it turns out, the only thing we were going through was the slow, silent disintegration of trust. Her name is Jenna. She's 31, stunning, ambitious, unpredictable. The kind of woman who makes you feel like you're constantly auditioning to keep her attention. And for a long time, I was okay with that. We met 7 years ago in a downtown bar. I was out celebrating a promotion. She was there with friends. She sat beside me, stole a fry from my plate without asking, and said, "You look like you need someone to ruin your night." I laughed. A month later, we were inseparable. We got married 2 years in, small wedding, big dreams. She worked in hospitality when we met, then moved into what she called independent consulting. I never really figured out what that meant in practice. She had a laptop, wore blazers to cafes, posted motivational quotes on Instagram, and called herself self-employed. Fine, whatever. She paid her half of the bills. I didn't pry. For the first few years, things were good. We had fun, we traveled, we had inside jokes. Physical closeness just happened, naturally. We were one of those couples who annoyed our single friends with how in sync we seemed. Then, things changed. Not dramatically, not all at once, just drift. It started with her phone. She used to leave it anywhere, on the coffee table, bathroom counter, wherever. Then one day it had a passcode, then Face ID. Then the thing never left her hand. Her nights out started multiplying too. Just grabbing drinks with Maddie, wine night with the girls, bachelorette weekend, be back Sunday. It didn't feel like a problem, until it did. She'd come home later and later, buzzed, glowing, eyes a little too shiny, stories a little too vague, and I'd wait. Sit on the couch with the TV muted, pretending to scroll through Reddit, but really just listening for the sound of tires on the driveway, listening for her. One night I asked, gently, "You're going out again? Weren't you just out Tuesday?" She rolled her eyes. "So what? I need to file a schedule with you now?" "No, I just miss you, that's all." That earned me a long silence followed by, "Don't make me feel guilty for having a life." Guilt, right. That became the theme. Every concern I voiced became a character flaw. I was clingy. I was controlling. I was trying to smother her. But here's the thing. I wasn't even asking her to stay home. I just wanted the truth. I wanted to know if there was a girls' night at all, or if that was just the placeholder she used when she didn't want to say who she was really with. Because something about her tone had changed. Something in her eyes. I couldn't explain it, but I felt it in my gut. And my gut is rarely wrong. Still, I held on. Told myself it would pass. Told myself she was just going through something. That maybe I'd been boring. Predictable. Too steady for her. So I adjusted. I planned spontaneous dates. I suggested a weekend getaway. I bought her flowers on a Wednesday just because. None of it landed. It was like throwing sparks into a soaked log. The distance between us wasn't just emotional. It was physical. We stopped touching. We stopped talking. She stopped laughing at my stupid impressions. I stopped trying. But the worst part? I didn't even know how to ask her if she still loved me. Because deep down, I was afraid of the answer. I became a stranger in my own apartment. A roommate who paid the bills and did the laundry, while she floated in and out like a guest star in a show I wasn't allowed to watch. And then came that night. The night she put on a backless black dress, stilettos she hadn't worn in a year, and spritzed herself with a perfume I didn't recognize. I was sitting at the kitchen table, eating leftover pasta, and trying not to look like I was waiting for a fight. But I was, and it came. The night it all blew up was a Friday. She came out of the bedroom looking like she was headed to a magazine shoot. Black dress, tight at the waist, heels that clicked like warning shots on the hardwood floor, hair curled, red lipstick, that kind of dangerous red that used to be for me. Perfume, sharp, sweet, unfamiliar. I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open, pretending to look at emails I'd already answered hours ago. I heard her heels before I saw her. "Wow," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "Big night?" She glanced over, grabbing her clutch off the counter. "Girls' night. Carla's birthday." "Again?" I asked too quickly. That did it. She stopped, slowly turned toward me with that look, the one that says, "Don't push me, Eric. Do you have a problem with me having friends now?" "No, Jenna," I said, standing up. "I have a problem with you disappearing 3 nights a week and pretending like I'm crazy for noticing." "Oh my God," she scoffed, tossing her phone into her bag with more force than necessary. "Here we go again." "I'm serious," I said, trying to stay calm. "You don't tell me where you're going, who you're with, or when you'll be back. I'm not trying to trap you. I just want honesty." She crossed her arms. "Jesus, Eric. What do you want me to say? That I'm bored out of my mind? That living with you feels like dying in slow motion? That I go out because this," she gestured vaguely around the apartment, "makes me feel like I'm 50 and invisible?" That hit harder than I expected. I swallowed. "So you lie?" I said quietly. "You dress like that to go drink rosé with Carla?" She stepped closer. "No, I dress like this because I like how I look. Not that you'd notice. You've been wearing the same hoodie for 3 days." I looked down. She wasn't wrong, but that wasn't the point. "Are you seeing someone?" I asked, voice steady, a direct hit. Her lips parted slightly, not shocked, just annoyed I had the guts to say it out loud. "That's none of your business," she said flatly. I laughed, not because it was funny, because it was insane. "You're my wife, Jenna." "Yeah? And you're my ball and chain," she shot back. Silence. It echoed through the kitchen. My throat tightened. "Wow." She blinked. Something flashed in her eyes. A flicker of regret, maybe. Or maybe just irritation that I didn't roll over like usual. "I'm tired of this," she said. "Tired of defending myself. Tired of walking on eggshells every time I go out. You've become so insecure. It's pathetic." I clenched my jaw. My hands were in fists without me realizing. "Insecure," I repeated. "You stay out all night, guard your phone like it's a nuclear code, and I'm the problem?" She turned toward the door. "Don't wait up," she muttered. That was it, the line. I stepped in front of her. "You're not going anywhere tonight?" I said, low but firm. She froze. "What did you say?" she whispered. "I said you're not walking out that door until we talk." She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Then, without a word, she slipped her hand off. Her ring. Our wedding band. She threw it at me. It hit my chest and bounced off, landing near the fridge with a soft metallic clink. "You don't get to control me," she hissed. "You're not my warden. You're not even a man anymore. Just this weak, clingy little nothing standing in my way." That last sentence, it didn't even come out loud. She whispered it, like a secret she'd been dying to say. I didn't move, didn't yell, didn't chase her. She walked out the door and didn't look back. The door slammed shut like a gunshot, and then it was quiet. Not peaceful quiet, vacuum quiet. The kind that leaves your ears ringing. I stood there for a long time. I picked up the ring from the floor, turned it over in my palm like it was someone else's. It felt cold. So did I. The apartment was too quiet after she left. Still standing in the kitchen, I held the ring like it might tell me something if I stared hard enough. It didn't. It was just a circle of metal now. Meaningless. I poured myself a glass of water I didn't want and sat at the kitchen table, back in the same chair I'd been in when she walked in, like the whole thing was a loop, and I'd failed the test. It wasn't just anger I felt, it was humiliation. I let it happen. I watched it unfold. I begged, maybe not with words, but in every effort I made over the past year. And for what? To be told I wasn't a man anymore? That one sentence rang in my ears like a bell. You're not even a man anymore. There was a time when she looked at me like I was a man, when I'd walk through the door after a 10-hour shift and she'd pull me in by the shirt, still in her pajamas, smiling like I was the only thing that mattered. I remember that version of her. I remember that version of us. I don't know where they went. Or maybe she just outgrew me and didn't have the decency to say it out loud. I should have let it go, slept it off, waited for her to come home and pretend it didn't happen. But I didn't. Back when we first got married, we had our phones under the same plan. Shared cloud, shared location. At some point she stopped sharing things, but the GPS toggle must have stayed on. When I checked that night, it took me less than a minute to find her exact location. I don't like spying. I hate it actually. It makes me feel like a stalker. But I wasn't spying. I wasn't looking to control her. I was trying to find truth in a house where lies had become the wallpaper. I logged in. The GPS signal blinked once, then locked. She wasn't at Carla's, not even close. She was across town, in a residential neighborhood I didn't recognize. Some upscale development near the lake, not near any bars, not a restaurant in sight. The address was too specific, too deliberate. I copied the coordinates into Google Maps. Chris Halley, real estate agent, popped up. The name meant nothing to me at first, until I scrolled down. Her ex, from before me. I remembered seeing him once in an old photo album from her college days. Leather jacket, gym jawline. The kind of guy who looked like he always had a plan and a backup plan, both bad for you. My stomach twisted. I sat there for maybe 20 minutes, just breathing, in, out, trying to convince myself that maybe she wasn't with him, that it was innocent, that maybe she was helping him stage a house. At 11:47 p.m., I finally moved. I opened the browser on my laptop and searched her name, then his, together. Social media turned up nothing. But when I searched Chris Halley tagged photos, there she was, standing beside him at what looked like a dinner party. 3 weeks ago, arm casually resting on his shoulder. She'd told me she was at a spa weekend with her cousin that night. Another photo, 2 rows down, her wearing the same black dress she'd worn tonight, laughing at something just out of frame. I clicked the photo. Location tagged, Lakeview Terrace, private event. I stared at it for a long time. Then I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. That was it. The moment I knew. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't controlling. I wasn't paranoid. I was a placeholder. The guy she came home to when the real one wasn't available. The safe option. The stable one. The scaffolding while she rebuilt something old. And maybe the worst part? I let her. She came home at 7:18 the next morning. I was already up. Didn't sleep. Just sat on the balcony with a blanket around my shoulders and a cup of cold coffee that I kept reheating and never drank. I heard the lock turn. She walked in like nothing happened. Makeup smudged, hair tousled, heels in one hand. That dress, the black one, now wrinkled and clinging to her like it too, was tired of lying for her. She paused when she saw me. "Oh," she said. "Didn't know you'd be up." I nodded. That's all. No greeting, no accusation, just a nod. She waited a beat. "You're gonna give me the silent treatment now?" Still no answer. She shrugged and disappeared into the bathroom. I heard the shower start. 10 minutes later, she was in a hoodie, scrolling her phone, eating cereal straight out of the box like she hadn't shattered something 12 hours ago. I watched her for a moment, and then I stood up and went into the bedroom. I opened the bottom drawer of my desk and pulled out a small external hard drive, plugged it into my laptop. Quiet, calm, robotic. I started copying things, shared bank statements, phone records, old texts, Screenshots of her location. Photos I pulled from Facebook last night. I emailed everything to myself and saved it again to a flash drive, which I tucked inside my briefcase beneath an old engineering manual she'd never think to touch. Then I went to the closet and pulled down a duffel bag. Just a black overnight one, looked harmless. I tossed in a few clothes, toothbrush, chargers, a small manila folder with my passport and birth certificate. Not running, not yet. But I was preparing. I had reached the stage of grief called logistics. When I came back out, she was on the couch watching some reality show. She looked up. "Going somewhere?" she asked casually, like we were still married. "Work," I said. "It's Saturday. Doesn't matter." I walked to the door. She didn't move, didn't ask anything else, didn't say, "I'm sorry," or "Can we talk?" or even "Come back." She just turned back to the screen. I stood there for a second, watching her, really watching her, and for the first time in a long time, I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just clarity. She was already gone, and now I was catching up. That afternoon, I drove to a law office 30 minutes away. Not one downtown, too obvious. Just a small firm in a strip mall next to a vape shop and a nail salon. Looked forgettable from the outside. That's what I wanted. I didn't have an appointment. Just walked in and told the receptionist, "I need to talk to someone about a divorce." She nodded like she'd heard that sentence every day for years. 10 minutes later, I was in a small office with a man named David Tran. Calm voice, no nonsense. Mid-40s. Wore a cheap tie and the kind of expression that said, "I've seen worse." I gave him the short version. Married 7 years, no kids, separate incomes, joint lease, growing suspicion of infidelity, recent incident, GPS location, photos. He didn't blink once. "Do you have access to her financials?" he asked. "Not all of them, but we share one account, and I've got copies of everything from the last year." "Start compiling, make a spreadsheet. If she's funneling anything, we'll find it." He leaned forward, folding his hands. "You need to understand something, Eric. If you're going to do this quietly, you have one shot to do it clean. That means you say nothing until we're ready. No confrontation, no warning shots. You keep smiling. You keep eating dinner at the same table. But every night you're building the parachute you're going to jump with." I nodded slowly. "Can you do that?" I looked him in the eye. "Yes." He handed me a checklist. Property, statements, witnesses, notes. "You'd be surprised how often the smallest things help," he said. "Texts, dates, gaps in stories, bank pings, timestamps." When I walked out of the building, I felt different, not better. I had a plan now, a way out. No more guessing, no more late-night pacing, no more wondering if I was being dramatic. I had facts, I had time, and I was going to use both. That night at home, she acted like we were fine. She made popcorn, played some show on Netflix, asked if I wanted a drink. I said sure, and I sat on the couch beside her like I used to. Only now, I wasn't sitting beside my wife. I was sitting beside a stranger I had studied, mapped, and confirmed, and she had no idea. At one point, she turned to me and said, "See, we're better when we don't fight." I looked at her, really looked. "Yeah," I said, "way better." She smiled. She thought she won. It was a Tuesday when I finally pulled the pin. We were sitting in the living room. She was painting her nails, legs curled up on the couch, phone buzzing every few minutes. She didn't look up when I walked in with a manila envelope. I stood in front of her. "Jenna." She looked up, casual. "What?" I dropped the envelope on the coffee table in front of her. She blinked at it. "What's that?" "Everything," I said. She didn't move, just stared at it. Then slowly, like her hands didn't trust her brain, she set down the nail polish and reached for the envelope, slid out the papers. First page, petition for dissolution of marriage. She squinted at it like it was written in another language. Then flipped to the next page. Screenshots, dates, addresses, bank statements, GPS pings, the photo from the Lakeview party. Her breath caught. I sat down in the chair across from her, calm, silent, watching her read the life she thought I'd never see. It took her a full minute to speak. "What the hell is this?" "You know what it is." She looked at me, eyes wide, not with guilt, but confusion, panic maybe, or disbelief. "You went through my phone?" "No," I said. "Didn't have to." What, you've been spying on me?" I tilted my head. "No, Jenna. I've been watching. There's a difference." She stared at the papers, then back at me. Her voice went hard. "You don't get to do this." "I'm already doing it." She stood up suddenly, papers sliding to the floor. "Eric, come on. Are you serious? You're going to throw away everything over a few stupid nights out?" "You didn't throw away a few nights," I said quietly. "You threw away a marriage, one night at a time." She opened her mouth, closed it again, swallowed. "You don't understand. It wasn't like that with Chris. I just needed someone who wasn't me," I finished. "Yeah," I figured. "I was confused," she said, her voice rising. "Things got bad between us, and I didn't know how to talk to you anymore. You didn't even try." Silence. Then softer. "I didn't think you cared." I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time I saw how far apart we were. "You thought I didn't care," I said slowly. "So instead of talking to me, you lied, repeatedly, slept in someone else's house, came home and smiled in my face, and when I finally called you out, you threw your ring at me." She sat down, hard. "I messed up," she whispered, "but we can fix this." I shook my head. "No, you broke this, and I already spent a year trying to fix something you were secretly tearing apart." She looked like she was going to cry. "Eric, please, don't do this. We can go to therapy. I'll stop seeing him. I'll do whatever it takes." But it was too late. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't feel anything anymore. I stood up, picked up the folder, took out the one-page letter I'd written the night before, and placed it gently on the table. "You chose freedom. I'm just honoring your choice." I walked to the door, picked up my bag, turned the handle. She didn't follow, just sat there, surrounded by proof, by silence, by the echo of a man she thought would never leave. And I left, without yelling, without begging, without turning around, because the moment she threw her ring at me, I knew she wasn't mine anymore. And now, finally, I wasn't hers either. 3 months later, I live in a one-bedroom place now, nothing fancy, second floor, quiet neighbors, view of a parking lot, but it's mine. No echo of high heels on hardwood, no lies humming under the surface. Just me, a coffee machine that works half the time, and a piece I forgot existed. The divorce is in process. She didn't contest it. Her lawyer called mine once, tried to argue about timing, assets, who gets the couch. I let it go. I didn't want the couch. She's texted me twice. Once to say she missed me, once to say she hated me. I didn't answer either. Last week, a friend sent me a photo from Facebook. It was Jenna, smiling, hair curled just like that night she left in the black dress. Arm wrapped around Chris Halley, him, same grin, same cocky face. This time he wasn't just in the background. He was the guy. Caption read, "Finally found my peace." Peace. I stared at the picture for a minute, maybe two, waiting for something to stir. Anger, regret, jealousy. Nothing came. No rush of emotion. No heartbreak. No flash of what if. Just clarity. That's who she chose. Not just in the end, but all along. All those nights I was trying to be better, to be enough, to hold things together. She was already slipping back into the orbit of the man who once broke her. Maybe that's who she always wanted. Or maybe she just needed someone who'd never ask her to grow up. Either way, it wasn't my burden anymore. And for the first time since she threw that ring at me, I felt it deep in my bones. I made the right choice. Not the easiest one, not the cleanest, but the right one. I didn't win anything. There were no victory laps, no cinematic endings. But I got myself back. And that, as it turns out, was all I ever really needed.